In November 2019, Downtown 500 brought 8 young artists from across the country to Philadelphia, all of whom we found over the past 2 years through social media. All 8 of these artists are a part of the art community on Twitter and have interacted with one another online, but many had never met in person. We were happy to give these artists the opportunity to meet one another and work together for a weekend. We sat down with them to discuss how social media is playing a large role in their art careers and how it is reshaping what it means to be a working artist in our time. Okay. Thanks for being here, everyone. It's really cool that we're all together. I know a lot of you guys know each other through social media, which is cool. And I'm glad. Yeah?
I don't know.
Don't you? Don't. Can you not make jokes in my little intro? All right.
Wait.
All right. I'm skipping the intro bullshit. I'm just gonna hop right into the first question, and then if we want to, we can record like an intro.
Good idea.
Yeah. All right. So, I feel like a lot of young artists don't realize the importance of sharing their art on social media. So what would you guys say are the biggest positives that have come from doing so?
I was gonna say the opportunity to create your own platform and not rely on galleries and just other people, really.
Creating your own space with your targeted audience and just with your pieces. I think it's nice to attract who you are.
I think it kind of like takes away from the elitist idea of art. Like you need a gallery space, you need to know people in real life. Like you can make those connections online.
Yeah, it's truly do it yourself.
Because ideally, like when we're creating work, at the end of the day, like it's gratifying to be able to show your work in some shape or form, you know. But like to be able to escape the gallery setting and like have it be a more democratic system where everybody is allowed to share their work without having to enter these high markets and like
pay for it.
Yeah, and pay for it. Like break outside of these like I have to get my name through this gallery in order to be successful. Like it's just nice to be able to have people see your work in some shape or form. And to do it by yourself. Yeah.
And to grow with others too.
And it's nice sharing. I think that people deserve to see through your art, people deserve to get inspired, and it really goes a long way.
And that's what we're doing. I don't think I would have made the money that I've made from my art this day if I didn't have like Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, I made every dollar from my Twitter and Instagram. Like I want to get away from that at one point, but like for now, that's like
no, why did you? Like if you're making money, keep going with it.
Yeah, I know.
You know what makes me anxious? It makes me anxious how people could just go off and suspend people's accounts, and I think that's really something to consider with Twitter. Is like there's like a filter on it, and you just have to cooperate with it, and even then. If you're not doing anything, you can lose all of that. Like
not even that, like with Instagram too. Like I do figurative work, and most of my stuff will get taken down because it's
the nipples.
That's so fucked up.
It's only the nipple too. So if I put something over it, it's completely fine. Yeah. But there's still that one person who will flag it, and everything's gone.
Along with like Instagram's algorithm, like currently where it's like following, like the more popular posts are going to be what's seen on your feed. It really takes away, it makes it difficult to get started doing this, like and start posting your art, and it can be, it can set you back a bit mentally, like where you don't feel as accomplished with a piece because, you know, like so many people didn't see this or like so many people didn't like it or whatever.
Yeah, that's not even that they don't like it, it's just they didn't get a chance to
They didn't even see it, it's like understanding that they don't.
But for kids, it's like if you have a phone and Wi-Fi and the means to make art, you can become anyone with the internet. Which is extremely special and rare, and it's happening right in front of us.
That's never been able to happen.
Exactly.
Now.
You curate your own existence.
Exactly.
But it's cool because you can like see like, I think you can see your work's relationship with the public in a way that you've never been able to before. Because like you can see like the type of people that like your art, like things that they say about it. Yeah, and it's just like interesting because like it's really dynamic, and I think it's really interesting how we get to do that.
And
not that it's happened before.
it attracts like other people outside of just like the art world though too. You know? Like the uninformed viewer is still like able to see work and
Take inspiration from it.
yeah, take inspiration from it and maybe even push themselves into art which they may not have ever expected.
Just nice kind of those comments on page you got those in your DMs. You were like, thank you for making this. I support you so much. It's really inspired me. I think that's like
that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, like, I think that's a good thing. It's like even though sometimes maybe with the internet, like it can be slow sometimes with getting like money or checks. Sometimes what helps you, even when you're on like a break, much break from art, it's just nice getting those words of encouragement because it's really good moral support that you need that you might not even get from your parents.
Yeah.
Everyone else around you wants you to do something else.
I also love just being able to like experience it with other artists like you guys and like being able to like see you guys grow with me and like take inspiration from what you guys are doing and the changes that you're making and stuff.
It's like a support system that you don't really know exists, but it exists.
It's nice.
Like everyone's helping each other,
It's like a little
even if it's not directly.
And it's hard for like it's nice for people that come from areas that aren't like they're in like the cultural wasteland of America where there's like no influence of arts or culture. You can still find it every day, and you can find other creative people to connect with that you wouldn't find anywhere else within like the next block.
If it weren't for that, none of us would be here.
Exactly.
So true.
Even honestly, living in my city, Philadelphia, I could say is big, but it's still like a small city where there's artists here, but not all of them are visual artists. And even then, I feel like not a lot of them can relate to me. And even with the internet, even about art, it's so good to find friends that you can relate to.
Yeah, like I said, like when you're curating your own existence,
Exactly.
like you're going to find people that are in a similar like train of thought with you already. If they're willing
And it's
to
cool
follow.
because like the general perception is that like artists are like kind of alienated from society, and then you go online and you like see this like community of people that are like sharing the same interests and all this, and you're just like, oh shit, we can be like alienated together.
It's digital bohemia, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which I would think I was talking to you, Turner, and Benito yesterday about how lucky like you guys are to have social media because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, artists didn't even have this, and like it's just like such a thing that to be grateful for.
I feel like it had to have been more difficult like back then doing that.
Yeah,
like
it was. Like 2011, 12, like no one, like I feel like the art scene on Twitter wasn't really like relevant in a sense, or there was a very small group of people.
No one cared about the artists, I feel like back then. I feel like even though now, I feel like sometimes people don't, but I think that at a certain point, like early, 11, 12, people started to do like commissions for rappers. They started to do like, people wanted to see us more. Then at a certain point, like the music scene also got more so bigger because of the internet. It's a little bit, it goes hand in hand with visual art and with music and just seeing how you could take both like away from each other. And that's why I think it's really important for other artists who have platforms to live other people too, like, because it could really start somewhere, like, people are inspired because of your work, so I think it's always nice to give people the benefit of the doubt to retweet their work, to boost it, or only if you see potential. And I don't think that people should be pressured to be told to do their platforms either, I think. So it's like a give and take.
And I think like a lot of people generally like make the assumption that like, oh, social media is ruining art, like it's a bad thing. But like, I don't know, like anything's gonna change. Like that's literally just like how life works. Like impermanence is like inevitable. And like culture and art is always changing based on external factors. And an external factor right now is the internet. So like it's gonna change with that. Like you kind of just have to accept that. Like find a way to make it positive,
I mean,
like it is.
Everything is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Too much of anything can be bad for you. Like, at the end of the day, being an artist, especially when you're artist dependent on the internet, sometimes you might feel like maybe it's not you, but because of social consumption is just so fast and fast-paced, people can't pay attention. You might post something, and maybe you might get like not as many retweets or likes, and you might feel like that's what it's worth, but it's really not. If you're secure for yourself, sometimes it's like that.
You can like use validation.
I think that's one of the questions on the thing.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I would tell a kid too to not put all their eggs in the basket of social
you can.
networks, because that could be gone tomorrow.
It can.
You know, your account, like we said, could get flagged, like anything could happen, so.
Yeah.
That means but we all have general passion towards this thing. You still have to have.
I love it.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
what I mean, is that you're still diminished, but like, we still have to hold on to that passion because, you know, it's still.
Right.
If I get suspended, I'm gonna be right back at it the next year. I'm gonna get all my followers back. I'm gonna get exactly. I think.
Zach, were you saying like you shouldn't solely rely on social media? That's
Yeah,
because
it's a great tool.
It is.
It's a great train to the next station, you know, but I don't think it can take us all to our final destination.
Yeah, I agree.
You have to have a balance of physical work at the same time and with like, social media work, if not. Like, everything is, you have to go out and meet people, you have to talk to people. It takes a lot out of you. You have to do things you don't want to do, and that's what self-care is. Even as an artist, sometimes you just...
You have to like use it to make those connections.
Yes.
Like meet the people through Twitter and then make the face-to-face connection.
I love
That's
it
the
goes
nice
a long
stuff.
way.
Like I'm just using it as a place to kind of like start off with, because like the goal is to get to a point where like I can just like isolate pain
And
and
no one
like
needs internet.
come out like a few months out of the year and just do that. But like right now, like that's my income, and like I don't know, like I don't think anyone should solely rely on it for like connections and for just like validation as an artist. Like you're making art to get like popular.
And to be an artist, I'm being real, you have to be a really secure person. Like, it's really hard to be sensitive, because artists are sensitive people. Like, we're integrated for a reason. We don't like to deal with people sometimes. Sometimes it can be too much for us, so we just want to paint and just be chill. So it can be hard whenever you put effort into something, and then people try to like deride your work and everything, or compare it to other people. But it's always nice to know that this is like, the process of being an artist, especially on the internet, it's really, it's like really unlimited. Like, it's like you just keep getting better and better. It reminds me of this one phrase. I'm sorry, pretend he's over here. Michelangelo said, "Ancora imparo," which just means like I still learn. I think that being like an artist, especially on the internet, we're learning, and we're still learning how to navigate and to use this platform in a productive way.
We're in a constant state of growing. We're never stopping. Well, I mean, some people stay stagnant and they choose to, but I don't want to stay there.
It becomes a thing where you start to see like, some people will get stuck in their ways if they've seen that it is like
Comfortable?
Comfortable, yeah. And it's bringing in likes and retweets and attention. Some people will just continue to work in the same style instead of like growing outside of the comfort zone. Which the internet and like in social media in some ways can make you complacent.
It coddles you in your comfortability when you used to getting like a certain amount of likes and retweets based off like one style of painting or something that you're doing. And I feel like it shows like it's always good to go out of your comfort zone, because even though maybe you might get like lots of likes or retweets, I think that it's nice to do something new for once, and it shows your progress as a person, your development as a person. That's what art is about. So just consistently, validation to make something just because you get lots of retweets. It's good to stay true to yourself too at the same time.
I feel like it's so like hard to not like change your style and like continue to grow, because like there's a constant like influx of information on art on the internet. Like you're constantly seeing new art, you're constantly getting inspired.
I also get bored with what I'm making really quickly. So I gotta do something different. You know what I mean?
It's constant synthesis. Like you're taking in media all the fucking time, and like so of course you're going to change, but like I don't know. I feel like in some ways like you can't just get caught in a little. Like,
especially if you're getting paid. You know what I mean? Like
if you're getting like
that's
paid,
the thing. That some people feel like they're getting paid to stay in that spot.
And to exist and to just
and
do
then
the
you
same
can't
thing.
break outside of that box because that's your income.
I was gonna say too, even if though you rely solely on social networks for income, which is fine, like I'm sure we've all done it at some point. If you ever want to take a mental break,
it's okay.
No, but you can't, because then you've solely relied on your income to come through there. So then you feel like you have to like continue the schedule of sharing and stuff.
That's true. What you just said just triggered the show.
It's really important to keep your content upload constant. You know what I mean? Like you have to keep going through the cycle. Like,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you
should
can
try
spend 7 years on painting
every day. Like,
I don't like doing that anymore. I used to like say I'm gonna upload this many pieces. I'm gonna try to do it this day, like scan it by this day. I can't do it like that.
And like I very much feel the same way. It's like, all right, I'm gonna upload right now. It has to be like 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do this like that. But like now it's more like, since I feel like I've drifted like a little bit out of it and I'm more like trying to get into newer things, like you just gotta do what you gotta do. And I'm more excited with being able to share the work than even having what might come after it.
Now, a lot of you guys have like pretty big followings on social media, and I want to touch on like how that following came to be, which probably isn't the easiest thing to answer. It's probably different for each person. But was it gradual? Did it seem
Took years.
Transparency too, I think.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Substance follows you everywhere. I think with personality and like you have like a certain style, and like you just know who you are, like you know.
People admire that. I feel like.
Yeah, people. Cause I feel it's so easy to go on the internet and you see people who are just switching up for the trends and to like continue to be who you are and to stay. I mean, it's the internet, so people know who you are exactly, but to just like not pressure yourself and just be like your own like presence, I think.
I mean, since it is the internet, it's like, you know, it's harder to separate the art from the artist because that, you know, that's the same platform, it's the same channel.
It is.
So it's like, you know, you build up a personality, you know, that can increase the value of your art. You know what I mean? And it's the same way, you know, if you have a bad, you know, if you're a bad person, you know, it comes across, you know, you're to this or to that. The interest in your work is going to decrease.
But you gotta post memes from time to time. Like you gotta be stupid. You gotta post stupid shit sometimes.
Because at the end of the day, we're not young. Like we're artists, but we coexist with our identities, and even then, we have our own identity within ourselves. Like we're our own people. We like our own things, our own personality. Yeah. You can't take that away from us.
But it's hard because like sometimes there is that trope, and I think that it's like finally starting to go away. But for like a really long time, I felt like people had to be this like dark, mysterious artist.
That's so corny to me.
Which is it's big corny. Like it's super corny.
Because we're trying to impress.
People are now like trying to like open up, like actually see the benefit of like having an open platform and just being able to have like full expression. Because I think that's another thing that goes along with just being on the app in general is that we're seeking some sort of expression. So it's or like a release of expression. So like, why would we not put our art on there?
I mean, art is being, you know, I think with being committed to art and staying committed, you just have to be true to yourself. I think it shows.
And the following definitely did not come quickly, at least for me. Like it took me like literally like 4 years of like consistent posting before I actually like started getting noticed and like started selling stuff.
And it really does take like the support of other people in art. Because I'm telling you, I would not be here without Noah and Zach specifically.
Yeah.
I so serious.
It helps. Like seeing someone like a low following account who's talented, like the down and everything. I think that it's really, you know, you shouldn't treat someone's artwork because you know it'll get retweets. You should just do it because that person's talented. And it's like, why would you want to share that person's work? So I think that's really what it is. I think it's nice because it encourages them to make more art as opposed to.
I also think that Twitter, the whole fact that you can like retweet, that like changes the game. Like retweets, that's how you get people to see your shit.
It's the best way to go viral. I think a good time to drop posts is like usually on Sundays at 6 p.m. We got the way. I'm sorry, but
I never have like a specific time to post. I've never thought about that before.
Can I talk about how my following? I think with the internet, I've always been on the internet. I've always been like, when I was like 11, 12, just showing people, propane on Weibo. And then I went from there to Tumblr, so I had like a direction blog. But from there, like the black girl, like the black magic wave, I started getting a following from selfies there.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not sure, what is that?
Blackout. We post like selfies of yourself.
Oh, okay.
So it was like a thing on Tumblr when it started. So I got a following from that, and I used to draw art. And then from that, I think I've always been good at like a following, like a steady following from people, because people switch on the internet, and you have to know what they want. Everyone has their own market, so I use that as a way to navigate. And I think I had a really big platform on Instagram with 7,000, but I deleted it. and now I'm getting it back up because people just wanted to, you know, people were just liking the idea of me and my selfies and not what I could do, my art. And that's what I was passionate about. And it's like, it would be nice to actually have someone care about what I'm making for a change. So I deleted it, got a break, went on Twitter, and that's how I found everyone.
I actually have this issue where like, I feel like I shouldn't share what I look like because I don't share pictures of myself very often, but I'm trying to like kind of break through that. But I think it's important that people know that you're a person as well and not just like some robot making art. So like that's why occasionally like I'll just like post a picture of myself. But
another thing too is it's not about how big the following is. It's really about how supportive and loyal that following is, and creating. Because that's what I've switched my styles up, I've switched my direction up, and I've had a lot of people in here still support me through all of that. So it's like, it's crazy to see that people will support you because of you as the artist, not just your work.
Exactly.
And that's what's really important to me lately, is just cultivating that like following of like people that really appreciate what I'm doing.
You're a legend, Zach.
I think it's very good to remain humble too. I think it's nice interacting with like your followers, those people who support you. Like I appreciate it so much, and like I just have a better day, post something or tweet something, someone hit me up and just give me either pay for that painting and give me like compliments. And I think it really helps. Like, and also it's like your followers are watching you grow too. So I think it's mind-boggling to them too for them to see your growth as an artist because they really want to support that, and I think that's really important.
Another thing I do is like I'll go out of my way when I know other artists or supporters of mine are in Detroit. I'll have the rest like come through the studio and like make that personal connection with them. And that helps a lot. I think that's like another reason. I don't know. It's just add a level of intimacy.
That's what we were talking about, like the face-to-face thing. Like having a face-to-face connection is like, that's how you get things done. That's how you meet the person.
Like seeing all of you guys, like it's surreal because I've like followed you for such a long time. Like especially Dallas. Like I think you're the first person I followed. Like when I wasn't even like, like when I wasn't even like making art. And like
we were talking in DMs about like what you were going to and dealing with.
I know. I like remember that the other day. I was like, oh shit, wait, that was in Dallas. Like,
it's just nice because you don't know who you're talking to.
Right. It becomes like a lot more like spiritual and intimate. Like when you see someone face to face and you're like, oh, wait, we both create. Like you can have these conversations.
I was following LaDon before I like even knew what art style I was doing. Like I was just doing like little doodles, and now I've like grown so much stuff, and it's crazy.
Can y'all believe I was drawing like black anime girls with afros before? That's nice. It's nice shifting something because I can say that the internet really did inspire me, and I can say artists have inspired me on the internet. Like it's inspired like my like drawings, animations, it's like a little bit of that with anime. And I would say artists that inspire me is like Ron Bowen and this other person called Foxy Moron. It's like the African line art, and that's what I wanted to do, was to draw people who look like me, like black and brown, and now it's just everything.
So there's definitely a focus on Twitter specifically, which I feel like a lot of people wouldn't think of at first, because you think sharing pictures, you think go to Instagram, but it's really that sense of community. So can you guys kind of go deeper into like explaining how you guys interact on Twitter, like how like
it's lunch table.
Right.
It's very lunch table-ish from what I've seen and interacted with. But
you have to, so when you start off first on Twitter, you have to not be afraid of making new friends and finding new people and support, and and I think
reach out.
Like and like mutuals, having mutuals really help, because mutuals, of course they're following you back, they're going to want to fuck with you, and you treat art and show love. So I think that's really important, and just to make those connections, even if they don't know your face, you can have a personality, you can post art, you can interact with people. I think I talk to so many people on the internet, like I'm open to anyone, like it'll be like 13 followers anonymous, they'll just be my DMs, like what are you doing up this, like why are you here? And I think it's nice to, you have to talk to people, you have to go out of your comfort zone, you have to speak to people. And on the internet, it makes everything so much easier, because the anxiety of what you look like and who you are and your problems and everything, it just goes, it can go away. Like, not your problems, but everything else, the shallow part of it could go away.
And it's not even like Twitter's like so. Instagram just sucks. That's really all it is. That's really
The algorithm is trash now. Like, yeah.
I've always hated how they compress your photos so bad. Like the quality is so, and it's like you literally, that's your job. Like you're trying to
You're having one job.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Just seeing it on the feed is just so, it's miniature.
I think
There's like so much advertisements and shit on that. It's
Yeah.
like this is minutes.
Well, and what we saw with retweets, like retweets are.
That's how you get people to see it.
Yeah, you don't have that on Instagram unless people, share
It's
it
just
to their
likes.
stories.
I hate likes. It's just likes.
I think that the discourse from Twitter is like really important though too, and the fact that like you can actually have valid discussion threads. And,
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Actually talk about things and instead of just having it be a comment.
Like, oh, that's fire.
Yeah, like you can actually like.
Twitter's very progressive, the whole
Yeah.
site. I think it's more progressive than Tumblr. I think with Tumblr, like everything's like reposted, everything's the same. People go on Twitter, people from Twitter go on Tumblr, it's just still the same things. But I think with Twitter, people are really like, they're more open to talk.
And it's so chaotic to begin
It
with,
is.
so it's just like welcome.
Welcome to
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Welcome
it's like
to
it's
the
already
platform.
chaotic as fuck, and like I think that like, especially right now, you see like a very big political influence for Twitter, and I think that art and politics will never be separated. So you
It gets
of course see these two in very similar spaces.
But sometimes your art can also mean politics. If people look like, I think,
It's always political.
I think with my art, yeah, it is. I kind of think that it's just you as an artist and what you're going through. The art is connected. I think that I make contemporary work, so it's like it is about socialism. It's about everything that I feel like I stand for, like my identity, my beliefs, and it's just really about helping people and equality. That's really what it comes down to.
Which is something ultimately that you grab from social media, is that this is like a very democratic platform, and that everybody has their voice. Everybody can pursue what they like and go towards what they'd actually like without any restrictions. Like you're not held back from money for posting what you want to post. Like, and why it's like why have there trying to go to Twitter? And that whole thing. But there is that freedom that can be overwhelming, and why people might not want to post is that it is. And at one point, Twitter was very negative towards some people.
Sometimes it still is.
Yeah, and it still is sometimes. But
It's definitely is. It's a platform. The internet's a platform.
you still have to be. You need to know that if you are going to produce content and have it be open for the world to see, you need to be able to accept whatever's going to come back.
And to be strong.
Yeah, like you have to have your voice, which can be, it can be a negative for some young artists that might not have like everything figured out, and something could cost them by doing too much, I guess. But I think that's a rarer occasion than some where, because we're all willing to be together.
I mean, for me, like the first validation I received as an artist, like you can do this validation was like through Twitter, because like I was in like a limbo period for probably like 4 years of my life where I was just like, okay, like do I do this? Like do I become like an artist? Like I don't know, like do I really like commit to that? Excuse me. And I like had this like really intense realization where I was like, yeah, like I need to do this, like I need to start sharing my work, because like I never shared my work before, like probably like a year and a half ago.
Same here. I think I probably started this less than a year ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everything that I have now is in the span of like 8 months.
Yeah.
And I would have never imagined it. I would be completely fine with everything just being for me.
Yeah.
But knowing that other people would get something out of it, I think it makes it even that much more special.
I'm sorry, the question.
No, you're not good. Yes.
Okay, well, I want to come back to your question, because I know we want to go to like us and give advice to people who are trying to maybe start their own platforms.
Right.
When it comes to Twitter and art, if your art is fucking trash, basura, dumpster, lean in the bottle, you have to start somewhere, so post it. So post it.
Right,
Post
what do you
it.
have to lose?
You got
Like,
to
post it,
That's the
fuck
thing.
it.
It's like ultimately, if you want to grow whatever, you need to fuck up, and like it's okay if you do it out there.
I mean, everything's a
It's
teacher. Like you're gonna learn, no matter
It's
what.
nice seeing also like where you started from, or just like your progress. And I feel like on digital, like on Twitter, if you post it, you can really go back and be like, damn, this was my art like 3 years ago. Like,
I feel like people, when they make something, when they're starting out and they don't like it, they get discouraged, so they never do it again. But it's the people that see it, don't like it, but want to make it better. Those are the people that end up.
It's the people that like need to make art. It's like, okay, I'm not receiving validation online from this, but I need to do it.
Art
And then you manifest that. Like it's.
I just think that with art, sometimes people even think that making art is like butterflies and sugar and shit, but it really isn't.
Yeah, no.
What we were touching on earlier too is, as artists, especially being younger, a lot of the times it's tough to have a good support system in our lives.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure, like most of us, probably the first time, like you just mentioned, that we like received that support was maybe from someone we didn't know online, which can really jumpstart so much stuff.
Your confidence, for one. That's what everyone needs, is confidence. That's what it is. Because I feel like people who are afraid to post art on Twitter, they just lack confidence. That's all that it is. Like, confidence really helps because you have to know who you are. Maybe you don't know where you're going, but you just know what you're doing right now, present, and maybe you want to continue it, and that helps a lot too.
It's intuitive. Like if you feel intuitively like you're doing the right thing, then like share it.
And also, honestly, I don't know.
Everything is based off the leap of faith.
Yes. And also, the fucking internet, it's a privilege to have the internet because there are people who are homeless, who are starving, who are trying to sell art and portraits every single day to feed themselves. And they probably can't even do that. So I think to just be somewhere, even if you don't have a room to yourself, maybe sleep on a couch, to have the internet and have a phone and a camera, you could be whatever you want to be, I think. You could be a producer, you could make movies, you could make beats off your phone. Think about it. And I feel like with the internet, people have this thing where the more information they have, the less they use it.
Right. So it is, you definitely have that support system there. And you know, when you guys are pursuing art, there's always going to be those naysayers that are like, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, keep it as a hobby, you know, go get a real job or whatever bullshit everyone said.
Be your own parents.
Yeah, so like,
teachers or teachers even.
What would you guys say to those people? Like,
Sometimes you need to have a job. I won't lie.
Yeah. To navigate, to survive.
You gotta figure out what you gotta do.
The best advice though I ever got from an artist was Hebrew when I went to a show, and he told the kid not to take anyone's advice, which is like funny because but it's great advice.
Yeah.
And sometimes you, especially when you intuitively know what you're doing is right, like in your heart.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be told that just so you can defy it. You know what I mean? Just so you can be like, no, like you're not gonna tell me what to do.
I think that's
We love operating through spite.
Yeah. I feel like I like that. I feel like whenever I ask my friends for advice on like small things, they'll be like, oh, I'm like, what color is this? Is that, you know, this one, they'll be like, oh, don't put the blue one, and I'll get it just to get it. I think at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I feel like you're your own person and you have to make mistakes. And you have to live a practical life and fail to learn from them. It's so easy to tell someone you can't do this, but at the end of the day, like, you know, maybe they have more experience than you, but everyone's life is different, so you won't know until you take a risk and until you fail. So I feel like you should never be afraid of failing. People who are afraid of failing, they will never know what it's like to grow as a person, as an artist. It's okay to fail.
And like art is so internal, it's like there's no one who would be able to tell you that that's something you should or could do, you know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's something you have to find out for yourself.
Exactly. It's for you. For yourself.
cool. My next question is kind of geared toward Zach specifically.
Yes.
Sure. Almost everyone here, if not everybody, has said that they were looking forward to meeting you and that they were all very inspired by you, you know, because you're like... you're like the grandfather of art Twitter. But like, how does that like affect you? I feel like that has to like motivate you in a sense, or like I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. That's
Wait,
tough to put me on the spot with that.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I don't really see myself as that, so that's why I guess it's tough for me to answer that question, because I kind of see all of us as equals, you know, and like...
Equals?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to put you on the spot so much, I'm sorry. I mean, like, I feel like you have a lot of support coming in from a lot of different people, and like, these younger artists all look up to you, and like.
I think that comes with me starting 2011, 2012 and just not giving up.
Right.
And
You've had the most
that's
experience.
probably inspiring to other artists.
Yeah.
It's like, this kid hasn't given up yet. Like,
Yeah.
he's either crazy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him doing his thing when I still was like developing my style. So like, I saw him doing his shit, and I was like, wow, he's like actually like, he's got his style, he knows what he's doing, and I feel like it kind of like motivated me to want to do it more. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Especially when it was like 6 months later and his style changed.
Yeah.
I remember like even before like I had like messed up my brain and gotten into art, like I was already following Zach, so like he was kind of like the like example, you know what I mean? Like he was the dude that was like, all right, well, he knows what he's doing, or at least it seems like it a whole lot.
Yeah.
So it's like if he's willing to put out this in the world, then I can too.
Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to Kevin Abstract, because just seeing how him and the rest of Brockhampton operated, because I was, following their music really before I got too much into art. So just seeing how they were able to market themselves, make themselves relatable to other people in their shoes, and then kind of share work with those people was really inspiring to me. I think he mastered Twitter as an artist better than anyone. And still to this day, Kevin's so smart on Twitter with how he interacts with his people.
I feel like since I was probably 15 or something, and I just that was the instant thing. I had talked to Charlie about it. That was the first connection that I sort of made, was finding your work and then being oh, I can connect with this guy. Nobody around me. It's just kind of you see okay, Zach Thompson, he's got his thing going, and it comes from a similar place. It felt so I remember I was 15, 16, and I sent Zach an email, and I was telling you this the other night, I sent him an email, and I was I'm worried about going to art school, how should I, because it's he makes an example of himself as, not even anything forced, it's just a natural doing what you do. Yeah, a natural presence. I don't think you can really plan that either. So I think it's cool how it just sort of naturally, happened. And it's not even you're that much older than us, which is the really cool thing about it. To talk about the grandfather is
well, it's funny because
but
on
it's
Twitter
very
now I
true.
feel I'm learning from you guys. Seriously, every single time I feel it's something that I can't really it's evolving so fast that I can't grasp my head around it as much anymore. So it's I'm constantly learning from you guys.
I mean, it's full circle. We're all learning from each other.
Yeah,
That's why it's a
totally.
community.
Yeah,
That's the best part of it.
Yeah.
We're outside of institutionalism. We're outside of these super high class things, but we're still managing to come together and how to fucking do it better than some of the other people that are already into
Do it way better. With no financial whatsoever.
We're just because
It's
we're
the
willing
authenticity.
to,
That's
yeah,
what it
it's
is.
the authenticity.
It's
There's
authenticity.
nothing holding us back because it's well, what the fuck else do we have to lose?
It's shit already sucks.
Right, yeah, that's true. I have a question with the internet and everything. It is my question. How do you guys each feel about people? You see the engagements it has, your tweets, you see the pictures. How do you feel about people looking at your stuff, saving it on their phones, and that's it? What do you think about that?
I think it's a compliment.
Yeah, I think that if you're willing to put it, we're already willing to put content on the internet.
So you should already know.
Anything that's already on the internet is up for grabs.
Yeah.
People gotta understand that.
Which is scary though.
It is scary.
Yeah, it's scary because then you might lose your authorship and because you spent hours laboring for something and then it just
It's on t-shirts tomorrow, the next day.
yeah.
Do you guys copyright your stuff?
No,
I signed it. That's kind of.
The art.
Well, I thought that was
the art,
different. I thought
stuff.
that was different than her question. I thought her question was just saving it on their phone. But
Yeah,
if
but-
they're okay.
I mean, I'll say saving it, but I mean like people who just look at your work and you don't know who has your work on their phone. You don't know where it's going.
If somebody's profiting off of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's terrible.
I'm saying, do you feel weird about that? Because we all know that
That's
it is beef.
Yeah.
We all know that it's a free
That's just
platform.
stealing.
But I think that's one thing too with Twitter. I think they have like this thing where once you post it, Twitter owns the picture or something like that. That's why people are able to get memed all the time.
Well,
That's a lot of internet money you can probably sue them for.
I was even like,
Yeah.
lately I've been thinking like, it's funny too because we're all coming together about this, but what will people think of like these past few, like this decade and the next decade with art and Twitter, you know? Like will it have some sort of like historical influence? Is it just gonna be like
Crazy. This is like the coming together of the 2010s. Like we're about to go into 2020.
It's a whole new decade.
Going into 2020, and this is like end of the decade, end of the era. But like it's also the start of something new. Where like, I mean, obviously we're not going to be the same like young artists that we were before, but now we have we have control of like we have the wheel in our hands. Like we have to figure out where are the people that have to do this. Like,
we gotta steer the ship?
we gotta steer the ship now. Like that's the thing. It's exciting. It's nervous. It's like nerve-wracking, obviously.
So we gotta sign a deal with Twitter. We'll get an own art extension of the app.
Yeah.
Run by us.
You never know.
Yeah.
Adam, hook us up, bro.
I just the idea. It's on camera, so I can say the idea. Imagine having paid sponsorship ads of like people's art and stuff. So on Twitter, instead of like seeing like commercials and bottles, it's just art. I don't know.
I wish that I had enough money to do like
Right, same.
I'm no corporation. That's the thing.
I think it's a powerful tool. Like it's nice that you brought us here together. It's nice seeing like all these amazing artists in physical form, and I really would like to hope that we grow in the future together. Like I think that's really important. I think people, being an art, yes, like you're like by yourself being an art, but it's nice to have a system, a collective of people that you can relate to, that you don't feel as though it's like competitive or it's like drama. I just think that everyone should be together. They should be sharing things. Like naturally, you're gonna have personality clashes, but once you find what works for you, it works for you. So I think that those are your friends for forever. Your art soulmates.
You can't be an artist if you don't have other artists who are like telling you like what's up,
What's good,
telling you like
yeah.
your shit's good. Like you can't do it on your own.
But it's not even just the good. It's like
you have to
The bad.
you
Be like this shit is trash. Whatever you're doing, try to be more.
Try this here, try that. Like
It's cool to see, I always felt like artists were in the shadow of musicians and other.
Me too. Sorry.
Yeah, like it's cool to see though us artists get like media coverage, I guess.
Yeah.
Like just being able to tell our stories and just a little more about how it all came into play is, I don't know, I've always felt like we deserve more respect in that aspect. So it's just really cool to see how it all has come together.
It feels like more human because I don't know, we're not seen as just machines producing work as much anymore. It's like there's a person there. This is a person that the work is coming from.
And
so it's
people
cool to get that on the media.
Yeah, and people are realizing how much art has
how much
an
it's worth.
effect
Yeah, how much it's worth
in their
mentally.
life, you know what I mean? And in culture.
That's definitely right.
expression itself.
I think that one thing that is off of what Zach said about artists have always been behind music, like musicians. I think that's true because when I was 16, I used to do underground art shows in Philadelphia, and it used to be performances and then feature artists. But then I used to go in these spaces where people probably didn't have the money back 2013, 12, 14 to even pay for art, so they would just go in. It's a dark space. There's performances, loud music, and it's just dark and just my art hanging up and it's just lights horrible. Their backs are turned towards the thing. So I think at that point that's when I had to remove myself and really feel what is it? What is my work? What do I want to do? I can't spend my time painting, going to these shows between musicians, but performances, when they're there for that, they're not really there for me.
I feel like that makes you feel like a second thought or something.
And that's what I'm saying. And I
makes you
feel
feel not important.
I've noticed that with musicians, and it's so easy to be a musician or a rapper or a singer, have someone take your photograph or steal an idea from artists, even cover art and not get someone credit.
Yeah.
are not getting that they actually deserve for it, because it goes hand in hand.
I think musicians are like just as valid as like visual artists. Like like they're equal. Like they're both creating art. But I think like media has attracted more to musicians than they have artists.
Right, and that's what started all of this. Like I found you guys, and once I realized that community was there, I was like, wow, these guys are making really cool shit, and like no one's talking about it. Like I'm gonna be like, I want to start something and get people talking about it. Specifically, like Zach, I remember you were one of the first people I found, and you, Charlie, and Noah, and really all of you guys. Just you three, like, were the first three. But yeah,
you're a smart man.
I remember I reached out to Zach trying to get an interview, and I couldn't get a hold of him. So I ended up writing just an article about your art, like without the interview part of it.
That's so tight.
Yeah, and then but I made it here, so now I got it.
Hey, what's the time now? The separate interview, I got you.
I'm just fucking.
I just want to take a second and really appreciate you, Adam, for what you are doing.
This is great.
Because seriously, like, you are the only person that is doing something like this. Like,
This is a mecca, dude.
Yeah.
So sympathetic.
Yeah, I'm just really glad that it could happen. I'm glad that all your schedules worked out. You know, I'm happy that we can do this. Okay, so there's definitely some negatives to social media too, in terms of if you put up a certain piece and it doesn't get as many retweets or likes or whatever. How do you guys kind of deal with that, or like combat that like negative effect that might have on your mentality as an artist?
I tell myself the internet doesn't deserve anything.
Usually I'm working on like just a bunch of different pieces at once. So like when I post something and it like doesn't get like that much validation, I'm like, okay, well I still have like 9 pieces to post.
There's always the next one, but not even things like that.
I've kind of had this problem too, where like I make my art me, if that makes sense, and it's like, yes, my art is a part of me, but I'm also so much greater than my art as well. Like I'm me, and that makes it 10 times greater, if that makes sense. Like you have to like, just because your art doesn't get noticed by people, that doesn't make it it's still special. Like you still have to appreciate it for what it is, just because you made it. That makes sense.
I also feel like Twitter is like, and most social media, being that there is like such a large group of people that are on there, it follows popular culture literally. Like
The popularity.
it's well, not even like just like what we're doing, but like in ways that we work around like bigger like popular musicians, popular artists.
Pop culture.
Yeah, pop culture itself. Like so, Twitter is kitschy. Like you know what I mean. Like people are there. Like,
up to date.
Yeah, people are following popular trends, so like there are trendy works, and those are most of the time going to succeed. And if you're looking at success as being the likes and retweets and like reaching a larger audience, but like if you're trying to do something more, like if you really want to make an impact with your art, if you're trying to like say something important, then you're going to not be popular for a bit. Like you're just not going to have like large likes and retweets because you're trying to do something new, and it might not catch on for a while, but you still have to have passion in yourself and still create and say, you know, this is something that is worthwhile and this should be as popular as what is popular.
I feel like you have to.
Thank you. And also, there are some times where, I mean, if you notice like outliers, you do have to be confident in your work, but at the same time, you do have to kind of be critical and be like, there's a reason. There might be a reason, you know, why this didn't do as well. You know, maybe I didn't execute it as well as I could have. You know, there's a disconnect. So that also is important.
Or even just something that's not your fault, like timing. Just the simple timing of it, or being a bad time of the day. It's just not something to beat yourself up to too much.
It's also engaging like the accessibility of your artwork, like how well it's read and stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, I get kind of sad whenever I post something and it's been like a while until I want to go viral again, where it's just like low engagements, it does have something. It does have an effect on you because at the end of the day, like you're doing this to feed yourself, and it's based off the internet. Because I could say that I'm probably, besides Etsy, I make my money from Twitter. So whenever I feel like I have low engagement rates, it just makes me feel like, damn, what am I doing wrong? Yeah. And like the same thing with timing and everything. But I think that it's always good to also be secure. But not everyone has that. Like at a time when I was really dependent on engagements. Sometimes when you think that when you're not as noticed, or you don't have many engagements, you'd be surprised who get it and who will DM you about that piece. If it's sometimes the lowest engagement pieces that get so talked to too.
Yeah. It forces you to like adapt in your work. It will like force you to improve in some ways and like how some people will read it. Like, because like LaDonna was saying, like you are forced to look at it and be like, okay, so what isn't working here if people aren't following it, if the people aren't, raving about it, what is it that is successful about the other pieces, and what is it that isn't successful on these?
It keeps you on your toes.
Something I've noticed that's like, I don't know if you guys experience this, that I've never really understood is like, sometimes I'll have a piece on Twitter, like, get like a good amount of likes, and then I'll post it on Instagram, and it's like the total opposite, and then sometimes vice versa. I don't know if that's with you guys, I'm just like, how does that happen? Like, is it just the audience, or like?
It's the timing and who sees it, I feel.
It reminds me of like Uber and Lyft, and maybe sometimes Uber prices are higher than Lyft prices, and then you waste some time, and the Lyft is like a little bit expensive. But it's because people who drive Uber and Lyft, they usually work both apps, so sometimes there's a certain amount of timing where they switch off one app. They go in the other one. True. So it's the same thing with Twitter and with Instagram. People just like a switch on and off. It's like, all right, I'm checking my Twitter first, and then afterwards I'm going to Instagram.
Yeah, Instagrams. Yeah.
Oh, but I mean,
nah, you go there.
It's fine. No, I was gonna say, I'd encourage every artist who operates on Twitter to also take breaks from it. Whether it's a week, not too long, because that can, sometimes be like detrimental to, your following and support system. But take breaks to really reflect on like what you're working on. Yeah.
Get back in the real world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because like as much as this is like a nice device to be able to.
Too much of it is toxic.
Yeah. Well, as much as it's nice to like sidestep the gallery system and like the way like the hegemonic old school version of like what art has been, you still need to be within that, and you need to be in the real world itself.
You have to be present.
You gotta be present at all times. Sometimes this can be too much and you get sucked into it, but you really need to take breaks.
You have to live your life.
If you come at it with right intention and as something to learn from and as something to make connections with instead of just like whatever, then like, I mean, it's all about intention, really. Like, it's good to like step away from it. But
don't look at it as a dopamine machine.
Yeah, I was just about to say something.
Like, you're gonna get burnt out eventually, and then
Speaking of that, like, I would like to know, like, what's your guys' reaction, or what do you see the benefits or the like the pros and cons of taking away the like system, because they're doing that with like Instagram, taking away the like system, so you won't be able to see other people's likes, and honestly, that has a big impact on like how you see another person's artwork.
That's true.
Because like if it has a lot of likes, you're like, okay, people like this, even if it's not something by nature.
Because you have a lot of followers too. Think like that. People just probably just based off of that sometimes.
Yeah. So they're switching it up, So like, I mean, I don't know if it's just Instagram or Twitter end up doing it too, but I would be interested to see like.
So only the person can see how many likes they have?
Yeah, I would enjoy that, I think.
That would be dope.
Because then it's just content. It's not like the
context. I've said before, I think one of the most millennial things we do is base an artist's value based on their retweets and following.
For sure.
Like, it's so millennial.
I've seen so many artists that are like incredible that have like no following.
I'm an old man.
Zach over there talking about the millennial generation. Okay, millennial.
I think maybe for visual artists that would be like a plus, but I can't say for other people like influencers or.
Oh yeah.
Like I think visual artists because it's just that's all you're paying attention to.
It's more like an honest connection, because it's not like you're gonna be following people just because of that influence. It's literally just based off of like what connection you gain from their images or their sounds or whatever,
That would be refreshing.
And you're not liking it because a bunch of other people like it. You liked it because you liked it. Like, you
you actually value.
I think now the internet. There's also one thing too. With the internet, people are often told to like, whether subconscious or not, like they're all like whatever's put in front of them, that's what they're gonna pay attention to.
Pack mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people will follow. I don't know.
People can't think for themselves. This is how it is. Like leaders need followers. And it goes to everyone. You could be a leader and a follower at the same time, and you could follow people, support them, and vice versa. But sometimes people just don't know how to think for themselves because they have people do it for them sometimes, and not everyone knows themselves in that sense. So, like I said, with being an artist, you just know who you are, you know yourself, and you're being committed to it. So it's nice.
Side note: there's a really interesting Kanye quote where he says the only people you really have to impress with your art is people with taste, because people without taste are always going to follow that pack mentality, and they really can't make decisions for themselves.
It's always good as well, I think, to always be surrounded by people who are better than you too. It's maybe competitive, but it's okay to be around people who are better than you, because I feel like when you surround yourself with like the same old people.
Great compliment.
Yeah, you do.
And you don't see progress.
You don't see progress because at that point you're just kind of like surrounded with people who just what can they offer you? Like not even it's just like inspiration wise. It's always good to make new connections. You can still have your friends, have your play friends, your art friends, but it's always good to always like be open to meet new people. But I understand, like I know sometimes people get tired and people want to have their circles and everything. But I think that goes with comfortability. It's like you always have room to learn from other people too, no matter how hungry or anything. So it's nice.
Right. It's important to have people, surround yourself with people who challenge, and push you to make yourself better, and
who don't like.
I only really get that from the internet. Like I don't really I mean, there are artists I know in person who are not like artists in Ohio who push me, like professors and stuff, but I only really get true inspiration and motivation from other artists on the internet,
Right.
I really don't have that I totally relate to what you were just saying, because to be completely honest, I don't have a lot of in real life artist friends
who are I don't know,
that actually inspire me. All of my inspiration comes from the shit I see that you guys putting on Twitter.
I'm my own artist friends.
I don't know, which makes it so much more special that I'm with you guys right now.
Do you think that's because we don't see each other a lot?
Yeah. It's space. People need space too.
Yeah, exactly.
That might be part of it too. Yeah.
It's the distance that makes you appreciate one another.
Yeah.
Versus being around each other 24/7, and maybe you might feel like someone's taken away from you, or vice versa. You just get tired of one another. I think it's good to have space.
And it's just nice to have excuse me again, these conversations. You don't really get to have these conversations all
Anyone
day,
else?
but it's so important to
Yeah.
So I do want to touch on art school, because I know some of you are in school, some of you dropped out of school, so I'm interested to hear your guys' opinions on, the pros and cons.
I think it's case by case.
I think.
There's not a set definition of art school.
We all learn.
Is bad. You're all gonna learn differently. I personally, for me, it's a plus because I don't know. I thought I was kind of just I was gonna go to school, not really be a real person, just do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I'm learning a lot.
It's nice.
Yeah, so it's nice. It's working.
I valued my time in school a lot. I think that it's very useful to have background in art history as an artist, especially with just knowing what has been contemporary, because for the most part it's not in plain sight for a lot of people. Being able to know what has been the contemporary art of the past, even 60 odd years, it's not as relevant as you would think it would be. So I think that that was a clear benefit, but it's the system itself
It's fucked up.
is very fucked up.
It's so country club.
The thing,
private
it's
institutions.
it's hard because
it's country club.
a lot of the people that can go to a very nice institution for 4 years, some
They
people
don't take a
8 years and go through a master's program. Ultimately, they are trust fund kids, and I don't mean this with any hate, but some of them are pushed through as if it's a day camp from their parents, and they don't act through all passion, where
don't take advantage of it fully.
They don't,
because it's given to them.
been there.
It's given to them.
It's always been accessible.
It's still an option, like, whether they want to do it or not. And, I think with me, I couldn't do it with school because of how competitive it was. I was sad a lot. I just feel like I had to compete with people. And I was always one of those kids where I was smart enough to go through AP classes really fast, but I wasn't in school enough. I wasn't happy there. Like, the atmosphere it wasn't for me. But, if I had to do it again, I would wish for a better mental health during high school. I would wish to do those things, execute, and use my intellectual property wisely, where I could go to school, get connections easier, take advantage of it. So I do things purely to be able to go to school. So it makes me sad when people go to art school and they take advantage of it, because it's like.
And it's like you're paying that much money to go to like I'm sorry, like nobody needs to pay $200,000 to learn how to paint.
That's what I'm saying.
You're paying for the networking to access those people that do have hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Which is why social media is cool, because then you can like kind of make those connections on your own. You don't have to pay that money,
I would say the most important thing I've taken from school was, like Turner said, art history. Like hands down, like this, it's not like the technical stuff. It's not any of the actual drawings. Just knowing the history and the artists and what came before.
So you're not repeating it. Like, that and referencing where your craft is coming from. What you're trying. It's a continuation of conversation. Like you need to continue these conversations that have been happening through art.
That have always been there.
That have always been there.
Still here,
But the thing is that to most of the public and most public Americans, like it is deliberately shoved away so that we're not finding these things. Because a lot of it is based in theory and
politics.
Politics that go against the state.
Lots of artists were definitely against capitalism. They're against America. They were for it. So I just think that's it scares people. They don't want you to be educated about art history. Maybe they'll teach you about art history. Maybe like Frida Kahlo, but they won't tell you what was her political views. They won't tell you she was a communist. She was like a freedom fighter. Same thing with other artists. They don't care for that shit. Because it's not important. Because we feel like it's not important. They put through it because
it's not that it's not important. It's that it is important, and the state wants to ultimately push us through a capitalist system.
Because everything's systematic. Even art, like everything's gonna have its issues. Because that's why everything's kind of shit. Because like we're all kind of just like in the system. It's so hard to get out of it. But like art is a way to kind of rebel against that. But like you're still in it.
There still needs to be like we're bringing about like.
It's the internet too, so people forget things fast.
Yeah, we're bringing about the humanities in an age where humanitarianism and like humanity itself is in a very difficult position.
Yeah, it's in a fragile state, I think.
So I think this is a very critical point in time where we need to like raise our voice. This is like where we need to be yelling at the world about like, do you people not realize how fucked up this is? Like, do you not see what's wrong here? Like, we need to have our expression so that we can show the world that this is all fucked up, but like all still worthwhile.
I think I feel the same way. I think even though humanity might be a crucial state of global climate change, the world will ending in so and so years, I believe there's hope for humanity. I think that it's always important to also believe in yourself, but it's also believe in people who are younger than you too. And I think it's like the egotistical thing where I hate when I hear older people say this generation now doesn't appreciate things, they're always on their phones, and it's like, why do you feel that egotistical where you don't want people to be better than you? You don't want your kids to be better than you? And I just kind of feel like it's always important to also see it like that, where you see people as your children. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like it goes a long way. So I think it's really important to use the internet and the best means. Any necessary in a positive way, in a productive way, because it could really go a long run.
Which ultimately, like this way, I see like the internet being like this. It's not like there's like this dichotomy of art school and internet, but at the same time, it kind of is. Like there's definitely those that are still like obviously using the internet and while they're going through these institutions and stuff like that. But like, I think that with the internet, as I said before, there's just like this welcome freedom of like accessibility towards the arts that a lot of people have never been able to access. And for a lot of like private institutions, there has been that access for so many years, and people just become complacent in that. And I think that this is where we can start to see art in a classless age.
I think one thing about the internet too is that people become complacent because of the internet. Like people are desensitized to a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think that's scary. I think that the digital age, like I said, it's like a double-edged sword. It's like you could benefit off of it, but at the end of the day, like what does it take away from you? Like what's it taking away from everyone else? I think that it sucks that I have to say this because I use the internet, but it's like people don't know how to care, like really care, because it's something else to care about the next 5 seconds later.
Yeah, everything's so fast paced. It's hard to like for some people it's just hard to like latch on to like humanity.
And ideas, yeah, especially humanity, like it's hard to do because you could just distract yourself from caring.
And I was talking with Benito and Adam earlier about how like for hundreds of years people were passing down tales like through word of mouth, and like that was just like the way that we received information and content, and now we just have this constant stream of content and media. So it's like, how did we come from this point where like it was such a like rare sacred thing to now it's being
exploited and
being drowned?
Exploited.
It's also the best time, I think, ever to be a self-taught artist, because we have the means to look for influences or techniques or really anything.
Because like everything's already been done, so like I don't know, like to be able to be self-taught and to do something like kind of different, like it's hard, but when it happens, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think when it comes to being a self-taught artist, maybe at first it's discouraging, but you have to practice first to find your style. I think that's what everyone has in here. Everyone has their own style in this room. It's because, you have to do that.
I don't think any of us found it quickly either. I think it was like a long process.
It took years. It took time, it took sacrifice, it took no sleep. Even then, sometimes, even like when I wouldn't paint for 3 months, I just wasn't in the mood to paint. And I still had experience of me drawing like every single day behind me. And it's true, like I think people hate it. Like practice, you have to practice to get to where you have to go. Like
it takes the
be
person.
Inspired from like all things. Like you have to like observe your reality, question your reality, and be inspired like by all things. Whether it's like, because I mean like there's always subconscious inspiration, and that's gonna come out like through your style.
Yeah, but the subconscious inspiration is influenced through like Kant talks about how like a centaur wasn't made from 2 things that don't exist on the planet, and all of our dreams are like the reflection of what we've already experienced. So I think that like while we have this constant flow of content, it helps that synthesis of ideas.
Yeah.
Where like you said, everything has already been done.
Yeah, there's no such thing as an original.
Everything is just constantly. Our brain is constantly.
Can be original. I believe it. I think that
I disagree with you. I think that
because we're constantly taking
nothing is original, but you can evolve it. It's evolution.
Yeah,
I don't think there's ever been anything original, like completely original, because like you're always like there's always inspiration from something, whether it's conscious or subconscious. So it's like
you can't ignore something that has already gone into you.
Yeah, of course.
It can't get out of your psyche. It's already gone through.
You've already seen it. You've processed it. It's just like how can you make it your own, and how can you evolve it?
Which some people have already gone dangerous routes with this. Like,
it's a thin line between inspiration and stealing.
Well, like people have gone dangerous routes with this content upload to our brains, where like even if something is like seen, and especially like in a quick passing, your brain will still pick it up. And I mean,
because you recognize them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how each artist, when they draw like as a reference, they draw themselves first because your face is what you see the most every single day.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's what you're taking in all the time. So
yeah.
You can't help but to.
And now you can see people like starting to put in more negative things though through that. Like people, you see a lot of like campaigns based through media now because people are subconsciously picking up these agendas and these ideas that are dangerous to each other. Like, and we have
propaganda.
Literal propaganda. This is like you can see how the internet is switching from this free space to like
space for propaganda.
Space for propaganda, and it's essentially like our jobs to be the propaganda disruptors, I suppose. Like,
that's what it is. Yeah.
We have to break that flow of negativity and show that there's still humanity in us and not just brainwashing.
Yeah. That
was nice.
sums it up well.
Let's do